You are Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Fins fans? Yes, we are here. Your Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. My name is Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. I wish I had better news for you, Miami, but I don't, because I'm here today on the heels of a loss that doesn't sit well with me or with anybody who covers this team or who is a fan of this team or who goes through the day by day of just kind of being prepared and ready to see what this team would do in its first road matchup of the season, and it did not fare well with some glimmers of hope for a while after a disastrous first quarter. I mean, let's be real, the first quarter was terrible. It could not have gone any worse for Miami, but they did turn it around a little bit, especially on defense, and started playing better. Some things to kind of hang your hopes on, and they just can't get it right at the QB position. Disaster. The 12th man made it very tough at the beginning. So many things to talk about with this one, without a doubt. But we are here with your Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST, and the first thing that I want to do, as I always do, as we always do, as a network, as an initiative, we want to thank you for making whichever Locked On show you watch or listen to every day number one with you, whether it be Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST with me every game you've been watching, you've been listening, or Locked On Dolphins every single day, with Kyle Krabs. He does a great job, man, and the numbers are great with his postcast shows and my postcast shows, his post-game shows. So thank you very much for making us your first watch and listen every day. And always remember, we're free wherever you get your podcasts in here on YouTube, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by, and I'm excited every time I get to tell you this, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel with an amazing special right now. Place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's $200 in bonus bets with a $5 bet at FanDuel right now. And that's something you really want to take advantage of. Great specials with FanDuel throughout the football season and throughout really every, games are going right now. And you get bonus bets like that, $200 on a $5 bet. That makes for a heck of a Sunday, right? When that sucker hits and it comes cashing in. And you got to know that. You got to love that. So we're excited to have you here. Not a good day for the Dolphins, though. Just not a good day for Miami. And, it's one of those things that you didn't necessarily expect a great game coming in. I don't know what you expected from Skylar Thompson. Look, I saw enough from him in the preseason where I was like, okay, he'll be all right. You run your offense. You have all these playmakers. You make sure they get the ball. Are we still waiting for them to get the ball or what? I mean, the running game went nowhere with HN today, and last week it was much better. This week, Hill and Waddle, they have 7 for 65. Last week, 7 for 66 combined. The opening drive looked a little bit, it just did not go well for Miami. I mean, I don't want to sit here and try to sugarcoat anything or make anything seem better than it was, because it wasn't for Miami, and especially early on. When you look at what happened in the early part of this game, it was an absolute disaster for the Miami Dolphins to start this game. And, Seattle scored at one point. I think there were about 8 minutes left in the second quarter. I look at the clock and I look at the rundown, and they had scored on every drive but one, but there was an interception. And it was an interception that, happened. It gave the Dolphins a first and goal, the first of 2 first and goals today for Miami. So you have first and goal 2 times in this game, and you're unable to punch it in, first of all, either one of those times. One of the times you got a field goal, second time you got stopped on 4th down. So lifeless in Seattle is how they came out. They came out shocked. They came out scared. They came out with no offense. They came out with no faith, no confidence, no anything offensively, right? You have all these weapons and all these possibilities, and you came out vanilla. You came out scared. You had bad penalties from the start of this game, and that was something that really hit you almost immediately. Right? I mean, it's Seattle almost gave you a touchdown, 2 of them. Geno Smith almost throws you 2 pick sixes in the same drive. You catch one of them after it bounces off the running back's hands, but right away you get an illegal motion on Julian Hill. And not to pick on Julian, but he deserves to be picked on for this because he also had a holding penalty on the previous drive. They had about a 12 or 13-yard run by HN. And when you're on the road and when you have something like the 12th man in Seattle and you get a big play on first down that takes you into their territory and it's called back by a hold from the spot of the foul, not only do you lose the 12, 15, 18, whatever number of yards it was, I think it was a 12-yard run, but you lose it from the spot of the foul. So you lose more yards, maybe 18 on the play. You lose that, but any bit of momentum that you get on the road in a place like Seattle where the 12th man comes so strong, any bit of momentum that you get in a road game like that is precious. It's like oxygen when you can't breathe, and they just squandered it a couple of times in the first half of this game, and they were outscored 17-3 in the first quarter, and that's what it stayed for the rest of the game because the defense steadied itself. The offense never got going. And, it's the NFL. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear it's a backup quarterback. I don't give a crap if it's a backup quarterback. It's the National Football League. These guys all started at major colleges, played in many big games in their lives. They know how to play their position. Other teams have it happen all the time. Step in. The Dolphins steadied the ship. They just couldn't get anything going offensively today. You mean to tell me with all those weapons, with the deal that they just did for Tyreek, giving him $100 million more, and Jalen Waddle, and Achane, and I know Mostert's out, and I wouldn't count on Mostert. His knees are – I would not count on him. Jalen Wright, all that speed. It's just a shame. It's a shame to see those weapons not being utilized, and that falls on the coaching staff. It does. It falls on the coaching staff for Miami. You have got to get your weapons the ball. You have to find a way to get your weapons the ball, and I know that's easier said than done against the number 2 defense in the league in Seattle, but the Miami Dolphins have scored 20 points, 10 points, and 3 points. They've scored 13 points in the last 2 weeks. All that money they spent on the offense, it's been the defense holding them down. Where is the production? Where are the points? All that money. We're talking hundreds of millions. You got McDaniel. You got Tua, who's out now. You got Mostert's out. You got Tyreek, who's not getting the ball, not touching the ball. You got Waddle, who's barely touching the ball. What is going on here? You got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars not touching the football. I don't care who the quarterback is. It's the National Football League. These are NFL players. Get the ball to your weapons. Let them do something. And I keep seeing receivers looking back at the quarterbacks and the quarterbacks looking out at the receivers, and nothing's happening, and everybody's pointing fingers. You can't point any fingers when you're losing 24-3 because you all stunk. You can't point any fingers when you're losing 31-10 because you all stunk, unless we forget it was 31-10. Or was it 24-10? Whatever it was when Tua lowered that shoulder. A big part of the reason he did lower that shoulder is because of what the score was at that time, how listless this team was. I also do the Miami Hurricanes postcast on Saturdays. I'm not saying the Canes are better than Dolphins. I'm not an idiot. What I am saying is the way the offensive line plays for the Canes, with poise, with passion, with enthusiasm, penalty-free. Defensive front for the Canes, same thing. Look, I'm not comparing the two teams. I'm saying the way they play. The Dolphins were all out of whack. These are professional players. They can't line up and not move early. Illegal formation penalties. I know you have a backup quarterback. I know it's a loud building. These things are going to happen, but good Lord, did they do everything they could to give that game away today. 2 times they had a first and goal inside the 5-yard line. 2 times, I believe, inside the 5, definitely inside the 10. There were some things you looked at today. Defensively, they had some guys ball out. Zach Sealer, shout out my guy. Zach Sealer balled out today. And I think you're going to see this. You everydayers know this. It's a long season. This defense is going to make a lot of plays this year. The offensive line's not bad. They're dealing with a lot of injuries, and that's a big thing. The injury is piling up. But where's Reek? Where's Tyreek? He had the 80-yard touchdown in week 1 against Jacksonville and had ATN not coughed up that football. Javon Holland with the play of the season so far for Miami, because you'd be 0-3, and it would be a complete disaster. And that one win over Jacksonville was a conference win too. That win that ATN gifted the Dolphins by coughing up that football, or at least gifted them the sequence of events to start the sequence of events that won them that game. They made the plays after, give him that. Tua lowering the shoulder. He just wanted to motivate a listless team that was not responding. Why are they not responding? Why is the offense not responding? Why is the offensive line not getting it done? How do you run for 30 yards in a game? How are these things happening? This is the National Football League. These things should not be happening right now. They should not be. I don't care who the quarterback is. I'm not letting them use that as an excuse that it was a backup. Skylar Thompson, 13 for 19, none and none, touchdowns and picks. Tim Boyle, 7 for 13, none and none. He looked a little better, a little more poised than Skylar Thompson did. Then again, Thompson running for his life. The injuries really piled up. Tyreek Hill, 3 for 40. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 26. That is 7 for 66 after 7 for 65 last week. I was on the button. I got that right. Yeah, Achane had as many catches as Hill today. Waddle led the team with 4. Ingold had 3. They spread the ball around, but none of them gained anything. They didn't really move the ball super well today. And that's to be expected. Geno Smith gave them 2 picks, 26 of 34. It's Geno Smith, 289 yards. And, obviously just without Tua, the offense isn't the same, but that does not give them an excuse to not get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Why and how? When you're watching this game and you're wondering, where's that ball going? How can they not at least try some things to get it in the hands of the guys who can put it in the house and take it all the way? We'll talk about that next. Dolphins lose a bad one today. There's no sugarcoating this one. I don't care who the quarterback was. I'm not letting them use it as an excuse. You shouldn't either. 24-3 at Seattle. Lifeless in Seattle. Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Jim Grieshaber, call me Gries. Got the player of the game, the turning point, and the final score coming your way. I wish I could have found a photo of Zach Sealer. He was the player of the game today. All right, here we go. And you know what? No matter what happens when your team's playing, this is, look, we really appreciate you every day. We appreciate you being here every single day for Locked On Dolphins. We appreciate you being here every week for Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Same with the Canes every day. Alex and Kyle, and then myself with the POSTCAST. And no matter what those two teams do, the Canes are balling out right now, 4-0 after smoking South Florida. Dolphins, they've scored 13 points in 2 weeks, and I don't care who your quarterback is at that point. You are not getting it done, and the first one was with Tua. So, again, no excuses. But no matter what your team does on the field, no matter what happens on the field, you always have DoorDash off the field. And we didn't have this when I was a kid. It's just recent. It's amazing. I tell my kids all the time, the world you live in is so much better than the world that I grew up in. Locked Fall 24. You want to remember Locked Fall 24 is good for 50% off up to a $10 value at DoorDash right now. That's when you spend $15 plus on your first order. Locked Fall 24 is the code. So just remember that's what you're going to get from DoorDash. You're going to get up to 50% off your first order, up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more. That is how you do it with DoorDash right now. And DoorDash is your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. I'm trying to pick through a sheet here. It's not copy, so bear with me. But you must be 21 plus to order alcohol. That much I do know. To say in the spot, drink responsibly. Alcohol is only available. Alcohol is only available in select markets with DoorDash. It really is a dope service. I use it all the time. DoorDash brings exactly what you want. Football's finally back. You order your favorite game day food, snacks, drinks, even things you're missing from the convenience store that you might need for your work week and you don't want to be bothered. But because you're watching football, you can get them with DoorDash. Even stuff for your pet. You name it, whatever you forget, plus the food, plus everything, you can get it from DoorDash. That's my best advice. Leave it to the pros. Plug in the TV. Let the TV do its job. You have everything coming from DoorDash. If you're 21 plus, you get those beers rolling in, the drinks, whatever it is. You get the food, the snacks, things that you need for the week as well. Use code LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off up to $10 value when you spend $15 plus on your first offer. Limited time offer. Terms apply. Promo is not valid for orders containing alcohol. DoorDash, your door to game day greatness, your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. Again, must be 21 plus to drink alcohol. Order responsibly, drink responsibly. Alcohol only available in select markets with DoorDash. All right, DoorDash always there for you, man. Even when your team is not. Tough one for the Dolphins today, 17-3 in the first quarter, and that was pretty much all she wrote for the Miami Dolphins. And really, I mean, think about it, right? They got off the bus, and it was like that with the crowd. They looked scared. Their defense in the beginning busted coverages. Seahawks going right down the field in that first quarter. Geno Smith bailed them out with the INT. When they got pinned inside, deep in their own territory, that was actually a nice thing that happened there for the Dolphins defense, and they were able to capitalize. They got the interception, but 2 times first and goal, and they come away with 3 points. 2 times first and goal, they do not put it in the end zone. 2 times first and goal, they don't score, and their weapons don't touch the ball. No Hill, no Waddle. 3 for 40 for Hill, 4 for 26 for Waddle. So in 2 weeks, you're 130 yards, 13 catches from your 14? 130 yards, no scores from your $200+ million receiving core, the starters anyway. And that's not to say anything of Tua, who's on the sideline with his $200+ million contract, lowering his shoulder in a 31-10 game to try to get some kind of response from his lifeless teammates. He won't say it. McDaniel won't say it. No one in that locker room will say it. But everybody knows he lowered his shoulder because they had no life to them in that Buffalo game. Everybody knows he lowered his shoulder to energize his team, to energize that stadium. That's a football play that a football player makes to bring life into his team. And that's exactly what he did. 9 times out of 10, you get up, you pump your fist, and let's go. Maybe they come back and make that game close. Maybe they come back and win it. Who knows? They probably don't win this game on the road at Seattle with Tua. Anyway, the problems with this team are not always just at the quarterback position. It's easy to target since the days of Dan Marino when you had an all-time great. Back then, it was the running game. It was the defense. It's easy to target the QB position and say, we've never had a quarterback. We don't have a quarterback. We don't have this. We don't have that. But when you really think about it, okay, and when you really talk about this game of football, you have to have weapons all over the field and someone to get them their weapons, someone to block for them. The offensive line with the injuries, the inconsistencies, nobody played together throughout the preseason. In the Jacksonville game, you were gifted a win. Fool's gold is what it's looking like now. Looking like fool's gold now. And look, there were a lot of positives to take from this game. No excuse, though, not having Tua. Thompson looked lost. I would think seriously moving forward, very seriously. I mean, the injury could be serious to Thompson, and Kyle will have updates throughout the week unless we get one here toward the end of the show. But Tim Boyle came to play. He was poised. He was calm, hit a couple of big throws, converted a couple of third downs. Couldn't punch it in on 4 downs inside the 10. Gets a lot tougher down there. That's why they call it the red zone. But, then the Seahawks drive down the field easily. They put the game away. Geno Smith was great in the first quarter. He had that awesome drive in the fourth, but in the second and third, he was Geno Smith. The Dolphin defense made adjustments in the second and third quarters. The second quarter, they started to play much better, started to shut Seattle down. The crowd was taken out of the game somewhat. And then that last sequence, look, it's 17-3, right? This is what it comes down to in the National Football League. They came out on fire. The crowd's on their side. You don't have Tua. Offense, deer in headlights. Penalty, Julian Hill, 2 of them. Big play negated. Big plays taken away. Seattle goes down. Bludgeons you with 17, bang, deers in headlights, everybody's going crazy. Coaches finally get you calm. Defense makes adjustments, starts playing better. You get a turnover, you kick a field goal. It's 17-3, right? You start playing better. You start shutting down their offense with those adjustments. You start finding matchups that you can use on your side. But the offense never starts playing better. The offense remains stuck in quicksand. The offense can't get out of its own way. And that's what happened with the Dolphins in this game today. That's exactly how this game went down. That's exactly what happened. I mean, punt, field goal because they gifted him one, punt, end of half, punt, downs. You know what I'm saying? Punt, downs, punt, down, punts, down. That's what it was today for Miami. They got nothing going on offense. Their defense, once the second quarter started, hey, Seattle had a missed field goal, a punt, another punt, right? Another punt in the third quarter, another punt, an interception, 2 interceptions in there as well, and then they got the touchdown. But not before. Miami had shut them down for 1 and 2 of these on turnovers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this field goal, 6, 7 of 8 drives, and 6 in a row. Very good job by the defense. Zach Sealer. The guys up front did a really good job. They pressured Geno, 2 interceptions in this game, through some injuries. The linebacking core played great, I thought, in this game. But that last sequence where the Dolphins have it, first and goal, hey, look, he brought them down the field. Tim Boyle. And then they have 4 downs and can't punch it in. They punch it in there, make it 17-10. Who knows what happens, but they don't. Defense charges up the crowd. Boom, offense comes out. They were out for a while. They had a nice little scheme. The coaches had a long time to put that drive together, which makes a big difference. They go right down the field and score, and there's your ball game. It's 24-3. Next time they get the ball on downs, end of game. They just run the clock out. 2-minute warning, a bing, game's over right there, right? And it was before then. So that's the sequence that even as bad as you were in the first quarter, even down to your third-string quarterback, it still came down to that sequence, how good the NFL is and why the odds makers are so great at what they do and why it's always so close, right? Shout out FanDuel. Why it's always so close. Because It's the National Football League, and it comes down to a couple of plays in every game. In this case, it was the Dolphins not being able to make a play and punch it into the end zone to make it 17-10 early in the fourth quarter, and then let their defense continue to what they're doing. Then, of course, they get stopped there. Defense gets demoralized, realizes, hey, no matter what we do, we're not going to win this game like the 2000 Ravens had to do, and that's the only defense besides the 85 Bears that could ever really do that, right? We have to win this game 10-0, but we have to score. That's the attitude this defense has to take, but this defense isn't good enough to do that. They're good enough to keep you in the game. They're not good enough to win it. Your offense is where all the money is. That's where you want to make your money spent on playmakers, and your playmakers didn't make big plays. When your playmakers don't make big plays, as the Miami Dolphins, the way this team is constituted, the way it's built right now, your playmakers don't make big plays in a game. You are not going to win. And that's the bottom line, because Gries said so. Yeah, I know, that was lame. But what am I going to do? It was just a terrible day after a great day yesterday with the Canes. You're Locked On Dolphins Postcast. Watching Locked On Dolphins Postcast as well. Jim Grieshaber, call me Gries. When I come back on the other side, where's Tyreek? What are they going to do to get the ball to these weapons? I teased it. We're still going to have our player of the game. Who is the player of the game for the Dolphins? I can't even pick one. But turning point, we have one. Final score graphic, we have one as well. New features all the time right here. Locked On Dolphins Postcast. Don't forget Locked On Dolphins Daily with Kyle Krabs. Locked On Canes with Alex Donald. The Postcast with both. It's the Rock in here with the Triangle. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. I'm late for a break. I don't want to get in trouble. I better take it now. So I can tell you about FanDuel. I love FanDuel so much. I always take advantage of their promotions. I'm a happy and loyal FanDuel customer. I would like it if the Dolphins would help me out a little bit and I could win a little bit more money. But the Canes are treating me right. Always doing well with the UFC stuff. Thank you, FanDuel. And NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel right now, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel.com. All right, man. To take the under in the Dolphins games, take their under because they can't score anything right now. I mean, 10 points against the Bills and 3 points against Seattle. Scoreless in Seattle should be the headline, not lifeless, but it was lifeless. And that's not fair to do that to the defense because the defense showed up second quarter, third quarter, holding them scoreless, doing their thing, right? The offense just could never do anything. Punt, 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 downs, downs, punt, downs, downs, punt, punt, punt. I mean, good Lord. I mean, you should pay your punt quadruple. I mean, in the NFL, if you punt more than 3 times in a game, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to tell you right now that in that sequence, as good as the Seahawks played in the first quarter, as good as that last Seattle drive was, that sequence that won them the game, Dolphins can't punch it in. Seahawks did. Red zone offense 2 times in there, can't score. It's just what we said yesterday in the Canes postcast. 4 times in the red zone, 4 touchdowns. 4 times in the red zone for South Florida, 1 field goal. Easy to see why it was 50-15. Same thing in this game. 2 times with a first and goal, 3 points. Obviously, you want 14 in a perfect world. Worst case, 0. Somewhere in the middle would be good, but definitely toward the higher end. You don't expect perfection every time. But they don't score there. Seahawks go right down the field. Give Geno credit. He was great in the first, great drive in the fourth. Other than that, he was Geno Smith. You were in the game. Defense keeping you there. Flying all over the field. Really appreciated that. Sealer was great today. And I want to name some names because nobody ever talks about the big uglies up front, as people call them. But, you know, Miami just fumbling the ball all over the field today, too. Thompson, too. They didn't lose any. How did they not lose any? Ingold, just Thompson, they didn't lose them, but they fumbled them, and they were lucky. This could have been a 40-3 game, but Jordan Brooks balled out. Boyle was great today. Ramsey had a couple of big hits. He was awesome. Tackles for a loss. Storm Duck was good. Javon Holland got beat, but he had a good game. Walker, Kohu, Calais Campbell, Jalen Phillips with a couple of big hits, and I really appreciated one guy in particular. Really nice to see him get his career. They mentioned him in the telecast, get his career going in the right direction was Zach Sealer, and he played great today for Miami. He probably should have been the player of the game, but the player of the game would be the defense. If indeed we had a graphic for that, the player of the game would be the defense, and we can take down FanDuel now and give it a little bit more love on the lockdown side. So first things first, we're going to add an overlay here, and we are going to add hold up. We did the final score, and we did the turning point. Here's the turning point. There it is right there. We got the turning point. The star of the game. There it is. Star of the game. My eyes are going. This will be the first thing that we show every week. The star of the game. We don't really have one for the Dolphins, right? Because Tua is out. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle don't get the ball. And HN was held to, 30 yards rushing. So defensively, as a unit, yes. But the star of the game, the Dolphins, who went to Seattle and showed up today. A lot of Dolphins in that crowd enduring this one. So we give them all the props and all the credit in the world for that. The Miami Dolphins showing up today in a very, very big way for them. And excited to see that, not giving up on this team. There's a lot of positives. It's a super long season with the 17 games and the bye week, the injuries and things like that, adding up, piling up. You could get Tua back in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. All signs positive right now for Tagovailoa, the Dolphins franchise quarterback. He will probably come back. We don't know. And we don't know what to say about it. We can't really say too much. We're not officially, affiliated with the team in any way, and that's a good thing sometimes for us, right? And so I'm excited for that. When you think about the future there, that Tua is encouraging with the signs. Like everything right now seems to be what it should be with him. Everything seems to be exactly, what it should be, and exactly, what it would be. Let me see the moment, turning point, and then the final score, which would be Tua right now. Right now, everything is okay with him. Everything is according to the lights aren't bothering him too much. The sound, all the tests, everything that have been done. He's going to spend the next few weeks going to see specialists all over the country. Very preliminary right now. Very, very preliminary for Tua, and for sure you can see that it's a long process, and if they can get him back later, somehow find a way to get these weapons going, the running game, the offensive line becomes the identity of this team, defense making plays, you see it all the time, then the star player or two come back and, things definitely change. So it's very exciting when you think about it from that standpoint, because you have to really hope that Tua can come back and be healthy and still have a good career, slide when he's going to get hit. They can protect him. More and more rules coming in for the quarterbacks, right? More and more rules coming in for the quarterbacks. So we have the star of the game, and we're about to hit you with the moment. Yeah, these things do not want to work super well for me when I'm trying to upload them. Here comes the moment. There it is. All right, so the turning point moment in this game is when Skylar Thompson left with an injury in the third quarter of Miami's loss at Seattle. Not really anything that's a turning point related to the score of the game or anything like that, but when you're getting beat the way they got, it was probably going to stay that way no matter what, and that was something that no matter what, Miami was going to end up in the same position and end up with that same final score and end up with maybe the same final score. But you like to think if Skylar were still out there, maybe he's able to punch it into the end zone. And I can't get the score graphic to work with the picture I put in there of Mike McDaniel going like this with his hair. And there you go, 24-3 years going like this with his hair. The old Wannstedt. Remember the Wannstedt? Oh, no, Jay Fiedler and Ray Lucas are my quarterbacks. So McDaniel kind of did the Wannstedt today, and we had that picture in there. But alas, the technology did not allow me to upload it with the picture in there, even though the picture was already uploaded in there. So you got the gist of it. You got the idea. Dolphins lose 24-3. Lifeless in Seattle. Where's Reek? Again, 2 weeks in a row, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, in 2 games, 14 catches, 131 yards, no scores for those two. Running game non-existent today with HN, about the 30-yard mark. The offensive line, ton of penalties. Defense kept them in it, second and third quarters, couple of interceptions, good job there. Flying around, making plays around the football. I really like what I see from a defense that was supposed to be a question mark for this team. The question mark is the offense with Tua out, the big playmakers not getting the ball, the running game going nowhere, and the offensive line not able to get out of its own way, riddled with injuries, but this is the NFL. Every day you can watch Kyle Krabs for updates on Locked On Dolphins, on those injuries, on what's being done about things, the post-game presser, all that stuff. You'll see some of that. But it really is, a little bit defeating to score 13 points in 2 weeks. And remember, Tua played for 3+ quarters of that. He only lowered his shoulder to try to give a lifeless team energy in a lifeless stadium that had the energy sucked out of it by that lifeless team that showed up lifelessly again in Seattle. The defense slowly resuscitating some of that life in, but the offense has done nothing. Punt, 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 downs, punt, 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 downs. turnover. That has been abysmal. I don't care who the quarterback is. They have got to figure out a way to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And for guys up front, offensive line, tight ends, too many penalties on the tight ends. Get set, get in position. You know what I mean? Illegal formations, false starts. These are ridiculous. Mental errors. On the road, 12th man, understandable. They cleaned up a lot of that stuff, but they still went nowhere on offense. They have got a big offense problem right now in Miami. A big offense problem. OBJ is not back. They haven't shown any sign of a third receiver. Nothing in the running game today. Mostert's still out. Tua's gone for 3 more games. This is a train coming off the tracks. What will they do to get it back on? How are they going to get the playmakers the ball? Locked On Dolphins every day with Kyle. And then don't forget the undefeated Miami Hurricanes top 10 with Cam Ward leading the Heisman race. We do the Locked On Canes with Alex Donald every day. And the postcast, Locked On Dolphins after the game with yours truly. Locked On Canes after the Canes game, also with me. Marlins the rest of the year as well. About to do that show. They lost to the Braves in the home finale today. And you will see all these shows and more on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thank you to our title sponsor for the show today, and what a job they do for us at FanDuel and that great $200 bonus bet promotion right now. But most of all, you everydayers and all of you, thank you for making Locked On Dolphins Postcast a part of your day today. We're free wherever you get your podcast, right here on YouTube on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Until next time, Fins fans, keep your game tight and your mind right. Miami 24-3 Seattle is your final score. Your Locked On Dolphins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day.